Hello friends, and welcome to another video painting tutorial. Let's kick things off by covering our goblin and his ride in a sleek black primer, making sure it's as ready for a night out on the town as it's for battle. This is a crucial step that ensures a uniform surface that enhances paint adhesion, providing a solid foundation for the subsequent layers of color. The primer also helps to reveal any imperfection on the model surface that may need correcting before further painting. Next, use an airbrush to apply the base colors. For the armor, select dark blue-gray, creating a deep, rich base that will contrast beautifully with the lighter highlights added later. The wood components are painted with flat earth, giving them a natural, realistic appearance. The airbrush technique ensures a smooth, even application of paint, essential for these base layers. Employ the dry brush technique to bring out the high areas of the wood using a mix of flat earth and off-white. This technique involves lightly brushing paint across the texture, highlighting the edges and creating a more detailed textured appearance. It's a fantastic way to add depth and realism to the wood, making it stand out. Repeat the highlighting process with a lighter shade, using khaki to add dimension and depth to the model. This step involves focusing on the most elevated parts of the texture, further enhancing the visual interest and complexity of the piece. It's like saying, yes, I've been on a vacation, but with paint. Highlight the edges of the armor using the dry brush technique with a dark blue-gray. This method adds a subtle wear and tear effect, suggesting a battle-hardened piece of armor with a realistic edge. Now mix 50% dark blue-gray and 50% wolf-gray to mark the armor highlights. Use the edge of the brush for precision, allowing for controlled, sharp lines that define the armor's contours and add a striking contrast to the base color. For metallic areas, use again a dry brush with Leadbelcher to target just the raised surfaces. This technique prevents the metal from appearing overly shiny and creates a more authentic, worn metal effect, indicative of use and age. Think of it as the mecha's personal battle scar story, but without the small talk. Once all the metallic parts are done, make sure you do the same for the rims using a golden metallic paint to give it a little bit more variance. We don't want all the metals to look the same. Start by applying the base layer, then adding details using the dry brush technique, and finally edge highlighting all the raised areas and important edges. Apply off-white to highlight edges and differentiate between various armor plates. This step is crucial for adding visual clarity and detail, making each element of the armor distinct and more visually appealing. For the goblin skin, start with a base layer of goblin green, applying it to raised areas and maintain the darker shades in the recesses. The base layer sets the stage for more intricate detail work, creating a lively, dynamic skin tone. Blend 50% goblin green, 40% flat yellow, and 10% off-white for the highlights. Concentrate on muscle edges, facial features, and ears to create a vibrant, lifelike appearance. This combination of colors adds warmth and depth, enhancing the model's overall realism. It's all about those healthy, glowing goblin vibes. Add character to the armor by applying random brush strokes of Scarlett blood on some of the plates. This technique simulates battle damage and wear, giving a model a story and history through visual cues. Revisit the highlights of the armor plates using the same 50-50 mix of dark blue-gray and wolf-gray. This reinforces the model's details and ensures that the armor catches the light, simulating realistic metallic reflections. It also helps clean up some of the areas that need to be a little bit more precise. Paint the backlights with a mix of scarlet blood and blue, adding a dynamic and colorful focal point to the model. This step introduces a pop of color and suggests functionality and technology within the model. A glaze of violet shade on the flamethrower tip for that just toasted some marshmallows finish. Apply the shade as a glaze to the tip of the flamethrower to mimic a burnt metal, using off-white to highlight the edges of the holes. These details suggest the weapon's use and the high temperatures it has been exposed to. Start creating a rock texture by dry brushing with Basalt Grey. This foundational step begins the process of building up the rock's realistic texture and color. Enhance the rock's texture with off-white highlights using the dry brush technique, bringing out the texture's details, making sure the rock appears more three-dimensional and realistic. For the orc's head under the mecha's foot, use deep green for the base layer, setting the stage for detailed facial features and skin texture. Mix deep green with intermediate green in a 50-50% ratio for the first layer of skin highlights. Focus on prominent features like the nose and jaw to bring the face to life with natural looking contours. Use khaki again to detail the teeth, adding a stark contrast to the mouth and enhancing the model's ferocity. Even dead orcs understand the importance of a good smile. Apply scarlet blood below the head and on the neck to simulate blood, creating a dramatic, gory effect. This detail adds a narrative element, suggesting recent battle or injury. This is very important to make sure your miniatures have a story to tell. Create an object source lighting, or OSL for short, effect on the back with an airbrush using scarlet blood and blue. This technique adds a lot of atmosphere, simulating the glow of light sources of the model. Now let's start working on the base. The steps and the process is going to be very similar as with the main body. Let's start by applying black primer to the base before airbrushing the base colors of the plates with dark blue-gray, preparing the scene for a detailed ground and armor plate painting. Paint the rest of the base with matte brown and the planks with flat earth, laying down the colors that will build up the groundwork and set up the scene. Enhance the base's texture with Agrax Earthshade wash, highlighting deep areas and adding dimension to the earth and wood. Now proceed and apply black wash to the steel plates for a dirty, weathered look. This will add realism, suggesting the use and exposure to the elements. Highlight the armor's edges with the dark blue-gray using a dry brush, adding definition and detail to make the armor stand out. Similarly, highlight the wood edges with flat earth using the dry brush technique, emphasizing the texture and contrast between the wood and its surroundings. Use the 50-50 mix of dark blue-gray and wolf-gray to accentuate the armor plate highlights, reinforcing the visual impact of the metallic elements and separating them all against each other. Focus on the wood edges with khaki to enhance contrast as well, especially along the edges, to intensify the contrast between elements. Paint the dynamite base layer with burnt red, setting the stage for the next color, and highlight to suggest a realistic but potentially dangerous object. Highlight the dynamite using scarlet blood, focusing on the high areas to create a sense of volume and texture, making the dynamite pop against the model. Finish by painting the straps holding the bars with black, adding a final touch of detail and contrast, ensuring every element of the base is considered and refined. And there we have it, friends. Each step is designed to gradually build up the model's complexity and visual appeal, using a variety but simple painting techniques and color highlights to create a dynamic, realistic miniature that will look badass in your tabletop. Remember that every brushstroke tells the tale of a goblin and its mecha ready to conquer the world, or at least look stunning while trying. Thank you, friends, and until next time, keep creating and keep painting.